Cambodia. Well, that sounds exciting. You might have already planned your trip, booked your trip, or you might just be looking into a potential trip to Cambodia. Well, in today's video, we're going to give you what we think is some really good tips and hacks if you are planning that trip. And we, in fact, went to Cambodia back in early part of this year. We initially started out in Vietnam, went right through Vietnam, then over into Cambodia for about a week, and we absolutely loved it. Video playing in the background there. I'll link the full documentary video of Vietnam and Cambodia in the description of this video if you want to check it out. But tips and hacks if you're heading to Cambodia, some of the things that we wish we had have known before we went as well. Let's jump straight in. All right, let's talk about visas and currency first. Unless you live in one of the surrounding countries close to Cambodia, very, very likely you're going to need a visa. So if you haven't organized one already, link in the description below for the e-visa that we used. Really easy. I think the cost was about $30 US. Don't make the mistake that we did if you are traveling through another country prior to getting to Cambodia to do it a few days prior to your arrival at the border, because we did that and I was very, very nervous. It did take a few days to come through, and we only got it right before we got to the border. So do it before you leave your country of origin. Make sure you've got your visa. And a big tip as well, there's no e-gates. Well, we certainly didn't see any. We traveled by land across from Vietnam into Cambodia, and then we exited with the airport at Siem Reap, but we didn't see any of the e-gates. So make sure you print the visa off, keep it in your passport, and you do require it when you enter Cambodia and also when you exit. I'm sure you probably can have it on your phone, but I think the best thing to do would be to print it off and just keep it in your passport. Now, currency, US dollars and local currency. I can't even remember the name of the local currency. We predominantly use US dollars, widely accepted in Cambodia. In fact, you can pull US dollars very easily out of the ATM. We were told there are more reputable ATMs than some others. So if you're concerned about that, ask your hotel concierge or your tour guide or hostel manager, whoever you're staying, of which ATMs may be a bit more reputable than others in regards to pulling your cash out in US dollars, because apparently there is a little bit of counterfeiting that does go on. Now, once you get it, you can happily pay with US dollars whenever you like, and very often sometimes you'll get local currency in return, in change. In fact, very often. Now, the biggest tip I can give you with that is don't leave Cambodia with a lot of their local currency, because it's very challenging to exchange once you leave Cambodia in other countries. Virtually impossible. So make sure you've got it in US dollars before you leave, or just spend it all when you're there. The people are incredibly friendly. They'd love you to spend the money. So do that, but US dollars and local currency. All right, I want to talk a little bit about travel time, particularly if you're coming from Vietnam and over into Cambodia, which many of you probably likely are going to do. So you're going to be coming from Ho Chi Minh City, maybe going up to Phnom Penh first before heading up to Siem Reap. Some of you might be flying into Siem Reap and maybe doing Mekong down or doing the opposite. But we did a tour and we were traveling from Ho Chi Minh City across to the border and then on to Phnom Penh. Now, that is quite a distance in regards to bus time. It's about 6 to 7 hours. There was about 20 people in our group, and some of them elected to fly from Ho Chi Minh City to Phnom Penh. And I've got to say, as much as the countryside was nice and it was good to experience it once, if I was going again, I would elect to fly from Ho Chi Minh City to Phnom Penh. From Phnom Penh to Siem Reap, again, it's about 6 or 7 hour coach journey. Most of the folks, once they got to Phnom Penh, were happy to catch the bus or the coach up to Siem Reap, but you can fly that journey leg as well. But I'd probably do one at least in the coach. But again, if we were doing it again, I'd probably fly from Ho Chi Minh to Phnom Penh. Now, Phnom Penh, we really enjoyed it. It's quite a big city. I was really surprised. But there's a lot of people that don't want to go and experience some of the things on offer in Phnom Penh, like the Tu Saleng Genocide Museum and the Chong Ek Killing Fields, and I get it. Understanding a lot more about the history that went on there is really, I think, is important and is really respectful for the people of Cambodia. Yeah, I found it really fascinating, and I think you will too. And I get it if you don't want to, but inside of our video, in fact, it's playing in the background now. That's the Tu Saleng Genocide Museum. In fact, there we got to meet the youngest survivor ever of Tu Saleng and also the oldest survivor. There was 2 or 3 people in there that were selling a few books and things, and those guys, their stories and everything, in fact, they might come up here in a moment if I let this play long enough, was absolutely incredible. So well worth going. I think if you're in a tour group, from memory, the tickets were already paid for, but it's not very much. And then the Chong Ek, the Killing Fields, are about 15-20 minutes outside of town. They're really, really proud people. That's the gentleman, that's the oldest living survivor of Tu Saleng in Phnom Penh, and that was our trip going on to Chong Ek. All right, Phnom Penh to Siem Reap. As I mentioned, it's going to be about another 6-hour coach journey. If you've done the trip from Ho Chi Minh City and you've traveled that way, you've probably done 6 or 7 hours to get to Phnom Penh, about the same distance up to Siem Reap. There's a couple of stops along the way. They do stop every couple of hours, but there's one called Skun, which is essentially the town of the spiders. And I think that's definitely inside of this documentary style video that we did. So stop there, have a little look around. The tarantulas there, I can tell you, are massive. It's an incredible experience. You can try some of the Cambodian delicacies like fried cricket, a fried tarantula leg, all kinds of things. In Cambodia, they eat just about anything, and I mean absolutely anything. But you'll generally arrive, if you're traveling up by coach, later in the afternoon into Siem Reap. We really love Siem Reap. It's a smaller style town. It's obviously, Angkor Wat is just a few minutes outside of town, but it's a really nice sort of vibe to it. We could walk around everywhere. Our hotel was about maybe 30-minute walk from what they call Pub Street or Beer Street. I think Pub Street it was called in Siem Reap. But it's flat as a tack. You can walk around. If you don't feel like walking, just grab a tuk-tuk. It's only a couple of dollars. When it comes to Angkor Wat, you're going to be doing a lot of walking when you get there. So make sure you've got athletic shoes, depending on what time of year, nice light clothing. Really obvious one with temples is you've got to have your shoulders covered and your knees covered. Really important. If you are there on your own and you're not in a tour group, you might like to get a tuk-tuk or something to take you around for the day. We saw a lot of people doing that. If you're in a tour group, that's okay. There's lots and lots of opportunities when you get to Angkor Wat just to wander about on your own. There's so many temples there. Angkor Wat is the big one that you just saw there a minute ago. But there's lots of other ones. Bayon Temple, and there was Ta Prohm, and there's so many other ones. So if you do have an opportunity and you're on your own, get a little tuk-tuk and get them to take you around to some of the other temples as well. Probably the biggest regret we had is probably not spending a couple of days there, because it is just one of the most fascinating places in the world to see. It's absolutely incredible. I was asking the guide what are the levels of tourism like now compared to before COVID, and he said it's about back to 70%. And I thought it was really, really busy. So try to get there as early as you can, and you'll absolutely love it. One of the things is at the end of the day, they often encourage you to go to this sunset area where I think, there it is right there. I thought that was a bit I think there's some other opportunities where you can enjoy Angkor Wat just as well, maybe in sunrise, but that was a really, really hectic and busy place. So enjoy Angkor Wat. It is just absolutely amazing. All right, I hope you found those tips helpful if you've got an upcoming trip to Cambodia. In fact, I'll leave a link in the description below for a guide we created all the way from the top in Vietnam down to the bottom and then across into Cambodia. all the places that we stayed at, visited, and all of those experiences. So link in the description down below. What's coming up for us? Well, we have got an amazing trip coming up to Tasmania in Australia. We're going to be traveling around for 7 days, showing you guys how to travel Tassie in 7 days in a little bit of comfort. We're not caravanning, we're not camping. We're going to do it with a little bit of comfort. So if that's your thing and you'd like to have a look at what it's like to experience Tassie in 7 days, watch out for that video. In fact, once I've done the documentary and completed editing it, I'll leave a link up the top here for that particular video, but we can't wait. I'll break it down with a few of the places that we're visiting as well. And then next year, we've got some great trips planned. Early in the year, we're going to be going to an incredible exotic location we've never ever been to. So we absolutely can't wait, and we'd love to share it with all of you as well. So until next time, we'll see you in Tassie.